Hello, welcome to September 3rd, 2023. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily good life meditation. This is an exercise that I do each and every morning, a little bit after waking up. It's now 4:48 a.m. I do this to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours, including last night, how I did dealing with the challenges and opportunities that I met, particularly the ones that took me by surprise. I also plan for the coming day, reflecting on the day's anticipated events and readying myself for the unexpected. I conclude by asking myself if I'm ready for death. And let's go ahead and begin, though, with a poem. So, keeping with John Keats, today we're just going to jump right into it. It's a poem keeping with his fairy season. He seems to be in a period of his life talking about fairies. I haven't read this poem yet. It's a longer one, so we'll just do it cold and we'll see what we can get out of it. It's called When They Were Come Unto the Fairies' Court. Here we go. When they were come unto the fairies' court, they rang, no one at home, all gone to sport, and dance and kiss and love as fairies do, for fairies be, as humans, lovers true. Amid the woods they were, so lone and wild, where even the robin feels himself exiled, and where the very brooks, as if afraid, hurry along to some less magic shade. No one at home, the fretful princess cried, and all for nothing such a dreary ride, and all for nothing my new diamond cross, no one to see my Persian feathers toss, no one to see my ape, my dwarf, my fool, or how I pace my Otharian mule. Ape, dwarf, and fool, why stand you gaping there? Burst the door open quick, or I declare I'll switch you soundly and in pieces tear. The dwarf began to tremble, and the ape stared at the fool. The fool was all agape. The princess grasped her switch, but just in time the dwarf with piteous face began to rhyme. Oh, mighty princess, did you ne'er hear tell, what your poor servants know but too well? Know you that the three great crimes in fairyland, the first, alas, poor dwarf, I understand, I made a whipstock of a fairy's wand. The next is snoring in their company. The next, the last, the direst of the three, is making free when they are not at home. I was a prince, a baby prince. My doom, you see, I made a whipstock of a wand. My top has henceforth slept in fairyland. He was a prince, the fool, a grown-up prince, but he has never been a king's son since. He fell a-snoring at the fairy ball. Your poor ape was a prince, and he, poor think, pit-locked a fairy's boudoir, now no king. But ape, so pray your highness stay a while. 'Tis sooth indeed, we know it to our sorrow. Persist, and you may be an ape tomorrow. While the dwarf spake, the princess, all for spite, peeled the brown hazel twig to lily white, clenched her small teeth, and held her lips apart, tried to look unconcerned with beating heart. They saw her highness had made up her mind, a quavering like three reeds before the wind, and they had it, but, oh happy chance, the ape, for very fear of, began to dance, and grinned, as all his ugliness did ache. She stayed her vixen fingers for his sake. He was so very ugly. Then she took her pocket mirror and began to look, first at herself and then at him, and then she smiled at her own beauteous face again. Yet for all this, for all her pretty face, she took it in her head to see the place. Women gain little from experience, either in lovers, husbands, or expense. The more the beauty, the more fortune too. beauty before the wide world never knew. So each fair reasons, though it oft miscarries. She thought her pretty face would please the fairies. My darling ape, I won't whip you today. Give me the picklock, sirrah, and go play. They all three wept, but counsel was as vain as crying, cup, Biddy, to drops of rain. Yet lingeringly did the sad ape forth draw the pitlock from the pocket in his jaw. The princess took it, and dismounting straight, tripped in blue silvered slippers to the gate, and touched the wards. The door full courteously opened. She entered with her servants three. Again it closed, but there was nothing seen but the mule grazing on the herbage green. End of canto. Canto number 7. Now there's canto number 8. Just one more canto. The mule no sooner saw himself than he pricked up his ears and said, "Well done. At least, unhappy prince, I may be free. No more a princess shall side saddle me. O king of Othier, though as mule, I every inch a king, though a fortune's fool. Well done, for by what Mr. Dwarfy said, I would not give a sixpence for her head." Even as he spake, he trotted in high glee to the knotty side of an old pollard tree, and rubbed his sides against the mossled bark, till his girths burst and left him naked stark, except his bridle. How get rid of that? Buckled and tied with many a twist and plait, at last it struck him to pretend to sleep, and then the thievish monkeys down would creep, and filch the unpleasant trammels quite away. No sooner thought of than adown he lay, shammed a good snore. The monkey men descended, and whom they thought to injure they befriended. They hung his bridle on a topmost bough, and off he went, run, trot, or anyhow. That's the end of the poem. I must confess, I don't understand any of that. I mean, I get there's the princess and the three, and a lot of dialogue and a bit of history, but I don't understand the poem. I didn't study it, so maybe that's it. For some reason, that one just went over my head, and that's all right. Part of me is thinking about stopping. I'm maybe about halfway through the collected works of Keats. There's so many other poets to read. Do I really want to read the rest of it? Altogether, there's maybe been 3 or 4 poems in here that really moved me. One that I quoted in one of my books to use, I found appropriate enough there. So it's been good. I have the poems of Robert Burns sitting on the shelf there waiting to be read. Maybe I'll switch it out. I'll think about it a little bit. Okay, back to The Good Life. Yesterday and last night. Yesterday was just a good solid day of work. I mean, not work, but of, work at home. All of our chores, our shopping. Mimiko and I had a good day. I got ramen at the Hokkaido Ramen Fair. It was a good day. No particular ambushes or anything like that. Although I did find myself being very much in self-control throughout the day. A pretty heightened level of self-control. Let's do The Good Life. My 8 objectives are to be always ready to die, to be ready for infirmity, and to be ready for old age. Ooh, that's the first time I've added that in. I've adjusted the number 1 objective to include not just being ready for death, but being ready for infirmity, as I said, illness, sickness, disability, and old age. I did that after I had a conversation this week with a man who basically explained to me that his retirement plan was suicide. Really struck me. And I realized, because since I've announced I'm planning to retire, I've had a couple of people talk to me about that basically indicate they're my age, that not only are they not in a position to retire now, transitioning into the decade of the 60s, but maybe never. That really struck me. So I think I need to add that readiness to this, if only as a cautionary suggestion to the younger people who might see it, to do what they can to prepare. This day will, if you're lucky, it will come. By lucky, I mean if you survive to this age. And then also to be ready for infirmity, right? Illness and disability. Number 2, to make good and effective use of my time. 3. So wait, coming back to 2 real quick. So what constitutes the best use of time once all of my chores and work are done? Well, I have a list in the book. I do have a list. But that list is more along the lines of things I'd like to be doing when death comes. Let's see if I can find that list. I guess these are all things that I could be good use of time. Breathing slow. Here's the list. It's at the start of the chapter. The Good Life. I'll just read a few. Breathing slow and measured breaths. It's a good use of time. Thinking and acting deliberately. Preparing a good meal. Being attentive to my family and helping others. Reading an excellent book. Studying history. Challenging what I believe. Well, these are all good stuff. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to perform good actions, to recognize my true limits and true opportunity, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, and to maintain my balance in all times and circumstances, to not catch myself off my footing. Now my 34 principles are: war, reason, homunculus, anchor hold, home of good and evil, purpose, atomic principle, principle of nature, the pirate ride. Temperance. Life will not go well. The horror show. That which must be borne. The feast of offal. Distraction. Agency in the great indifference. Best seat in the house. The restless man. The path of wildness. The great life adventure. The risk of avoiding risk. Sin and damnation. Complete oblivion. The season of philosophy. Script writing. The bullseyeing. The uphill climb. Reading and utility. Nothing is enough. And the principle of fun. Feels like I missed something in there. But otherwise it felt right. All of these are in detail in my book. Do I really need to do this life story part? I don't think I need to do that part in this exercise. So am I ready for death? Am I ready for infirmity? Am I ready for old age? I think I'm ready for death. I should do that in the reverse order. I should say, am I ready? Am I ready for infirmity, old age, and death? Am I ready for infirmity? I think so. I have insurance. I have a good bank of sick leave. If it's a long and deep infirmity, that might be a challenge. But then I would just pull the trigger on retirement. Am I ready for old age? Yeah, I think so. I'm going to retire next year. Am I ready for death? I have my affairs in order, my relationships are sound, and my life's work is done. So yeah, I think that's it. Okay, I can stop. I wish you all the best. And with that, my life is done, if not finished. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. Take care.